What's up, everybody? Today, we're here on another episode of Real Talk, Real Tips on the Outdoor Oklahoma channel. And this is all produced by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. My name is Jacob Tyson, and today we're going to be discussing the ins and outs of juglining. By far, one of my favorites. So I'm going to go ahead and let these folks introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Taylor Tucker. I'm a fisheries technician out of Blue River.
I'm Jeremy Duck. I'm a fisheries biologist in the north central region part of Oklahoma.
All right. So, Duck, can you kind of tell us what you do as the fisheries biologist in that part of the state?
So my job has a lot of different components to it.
Yeah.
Boiled down, I manage about 28 different lakes within 5 counties in north central Oklahoma, in Osage, Kay, Noble, Pawnee, and Payne counties. So quite a bit of water. None of it's huge. I've got Caw, and I help partly manage Skytook. We've got another biologist that's taken more and more on that, but a lot of it's smaller water, which is fun. It's good.
Right.
We also do a lot of stuff with aquatic education. Stocking fish, helping the hatcheries. Part of my job is going out and collecting the white bass, so that we can produce our hybrid striped bass in the
that's cool.
spring. So that's always a lot of fun. First thing we do in the spring.
Yeah, we basically make like Frankenstein fish. Frankenfish.
Frankenfish.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a good Frankenfish?
Yeah. I mean, they grow big.
Yeah.
Hybrid vigor. So no, there's a lot of different things to it. It's a lot of fun. No day is the same. I'll say that.
That breaks up the monotony.
I don't think I could ever do a job where you just go in, same thing every day.
Right.
I would
Lose your mind?
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so cool about like all of our jobs.
It is. It's my favorite part.
We never do the same thing.
Yeah. Some days you're on a podcast.
Right.
You never know.
You never know.
Do you have any other like hobbies or interests?
I mean, most fisheries, wildlife people are very into fishing and hunting.
Thought.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you do have characters like JD Ridge that comes on and he's like, yeah, I like disc golf.
Oh yeah, I love disc golf.
Yeah.
Man, I love disc golf. One of the there's a couple of fish biologists that we'll meet up and we'll actually go disc golfing together when we have free time.
That's
it's
awesome.
a lot of fun. I do a lot of different things.
You hit a big hobby.
Yeah,
on that
I know.
one. He got excited.
No, I'm a man of a lot of different things I like. I'm a nerd. I like board games. Really like board games. They're fun.
They are fun.
Backpacking. Started backpacking again. I was in Scouts as a kid and did a lot of hiking and got to go out and do a backpacking trip this last spring break for the first time in a number of years. The Washita Trail. Went from Winding Stair over to Queen Wilhelmina. So
That
I
sounds
remember
really
you telling
fun.
me about that.
it was it was a great time. It was one of those deals that felt good to be on the trail, had weight on your back and a little bit of exercise that doesn't necessarily feel like you're in a gym.
Right.
I love that kind of exercise. It's my favorite.
That's the best.
Yeah,
That's the best.
That's a little bit. That's me.
So how did you get into fishing and what's your favorite part about juglining?
So fishing, I always, as a child, loved fishing. We had some property that we'd go to as a kid, and it was always such a treat to go fishing where, no kid wants to wake up. But my parents would walk in and we're going fishing.
That works on my son too.
Oh, just whisper and I just sit up and
it's like,
we're going. And I don't know why, I always love catfish. I think it's just they're bigger, they fight hard, you can catch them almost anywhere.
They feel cool.
They feel cool. Yeah,
they're not a scaled fish.
Yeah, you don't expect them to feel that way, So, and then the sounds they make, it's just like, why is this thing barking at me?
Right. Why is it grunting?
Yeah, it's. So I remember a kid, I ended up losing my brother's fish because it's the first time it had happened. And I was like, why did I dropped it? And he got real mad at me. So,
That's funny.
Anyway, juglining is a lot of fun because it's almost a different mindset. of fishing.
Right.
You know, if you are, when I'm juglining, I'm looking for meat.
Right.
I am looking to
Have a fish fry.
have a fish fry.
Yes.
I'm looking to put some fish into the freezer. The other thing is it also goes back to my like trapping roots.
Oh yeah.
You know, I love trapping.
Yeah.
I'd say that trapping is like,
I've never really thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Like,
you never know what you're going to get.
right.
Anytime you go out there,
Kinda like a present every
It's
time
a
you pull it
present
up.
every time
Yeah.
you do it, right? So it's
That mystery
Yes.
of like fishing and like,
and there's times where you see crazy things.
right.
You know,
I've caught a 3.5 pound bass off of a jug line.
I've been with one time I caught a paddlefish that was, I caught a
What?
paddlefish on
On
a
a
jug.
jug
Yeah.
line?
That was in the mouth and just, a small one, maybe 3-4
Oh
pounds.
my
Yeah, just
gosh.
going. But then a couple years ago, I was out with some people and showing them jug line and everything
Yeah.
like that. And they ended up snagging I don't know, it was probably like a 40-50 pound paddlefish on a jug line. Like this jug was just going and we're like, oh, there's going to be a big
A huge,
huge fish on it.
Yeah.
It's either a big gar or it's a big catfish hauling
That's
around. No, it
crazy.
was a big paddlefish.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
It was they were so excited. They'd never done that stuff before and they pulled that up and it was a gentleman with his 2 kids and
Yeah.
they absolutely
I think we
I'd be so
should
tickled.
preface, please don't use jug lines as a mean of trying to catch paddlefish.
No.
No.
Yeah, if it happens unintentionally, okay, stuff happens.
Technically they're barbed hooks, so that's illegal.
Right,
So
right, it's illegal. So we understand stuff does happen, but let's not do it intentionally.
I mean, that'd be hard to do intentionally.
Right,
Too.
right.
man, you're just setting
Yeah. We understand things happen, but so jug lining is one of those things that you tend to have to be out on the water unless you're setting limb lines. Then you could kind of maybe figure out a way to work it a little better.
I would still be on the water if I'm setting
Yeah.
a limb line. I would hate to fall into that limb line.
That's true.
Like you're out
That's
on the
true.
limb.
We
you're
have
like, I'm
used
like,
like
I'm gonna do
like
this, and you
line
slip,
hooks
and then you
before.
get hooked.
to grab limb lines. So it's possible.
Oh, okay.
It's possible.
Yeah,
like
I
if
get
you use one of those like line gaffs,
yeah, I got you.
you can do it that way. But we got to cater to both audiences,
Oh, no, and in my job, there's a lot of times that I specifically think about how can I do things to help anglers that don't have access to a boat,
Right.
Because
Kayak.
kayak.
know, we talk about
even
kayaks
if you
all
don't
the
have a
time on this
kayak, But
podcast.
like,
Yeah.
there's some people that can't afford a kayak.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so in my job when we're putting out habitat, a lot of times I'll put habitat out where I know bank anglers can
Yeah.
reach it as well.
That's great.
Because I'm sorry, if you have a boat, you can go anywhere.
Right.
You can.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't.
So
I need to
Unlimited
look
options.
after you, but I don't need to look after you as much as these people that
Right.
have more limited options.
Love that.
So you can go buy a kayak at Walmart, $100, right? You have more advantage in
sure
a
about
kayak. They might be low, like a
been
little
a little
smaller,
inflation.
but
I'm thinking 2 is what.
Too.
Two.
150
okay.
maybe.
Look, okay, I'm a big dude. I'm not looking for anything that's like,
true.
I need a
That's
big,
true.
expensive one that's going to keep me upright.
But you can get into more places with a kayak
Oh, yeah.
than you can with a boat.
Oh, yeah.
So you have even
100%.
more advantage
Yeah.
over the boat anglers.
Yeah.
Plus, when I'm camping, I like having the kayak right there,
Right.
setting jugs close,
so
and
easy
then
to
I'll
put
kind of
in.
keep an eye on them.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll go check
Yeah,
them
and
on my
just jump in
kayak.
the kayak.
It's just
Right.
a back and forth.
So much
Fun
easier
activity.
than trying to put the boat in the water, go get them.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
But that's not to say that,
But you also probably don't want to be on big water when you're doing that necessarily.
right.
Yeah, I keep
You
it
gotta be
close when I
careful.
do that.
Got to be careful in a kayak for sure. So what is kind of, I just stole Taylor's question. What's kind
Oh.
of your go-to like setup for jug lining?
So people have done jug lighting with all sorts of different materials.
And I love it.
It is.
I love going out on the water and seeing a Gatorade bottle thinking it's trash.
Oh my goodness.
And I go to pick it up and there's
It's-
a
Yeah.
line attached. I'm like, oh, gotta let that one go.
It's one of those things. It's the ability to use anything you can get a hold of
Right.
to make it work is great.
So versatile.
I just also in that same vein, I also hope that people make sure to retrieve everything they possibly
Oh,
can.
yes.
Because that can just be a
100%.
lot of trash in there. You see,
For sure.
I mean, anybody who's been on the water sees that jug and they're like, oh, that jug's been there for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a marker for people.
You
As
do
you're
pull
going,
some of those
down the stretch, and then when you see the jug sitting there, then you take a right down that neck, and then that's
Right.
where you want to be.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's
Also, no matter what they're made of, you need to retrieve. That's a danger.
It
just
is.
having a line with hooks on it.
Yeah.
just
oh
out there.
goodness,
For sure.
I've
Especially
got
for-
some stories
Yeah.
on that.
When you got people out tubing and skiing and doing all the things,
Yeah.
last thing you want to happen is for somebody to get wrapped up in a line or
well, most
especially
of
a
the time
line
you
with
try
a
to
hook
keep
on
out
it.
of the hot areas. Where
Right. But
Down low.
there
Yeah.
are those boaters that
Oh,
tend
yeah, there are.
so
Yes, there are. Personally, I really prefer the PVC with the caps.
Mhm.
So you have length of PVC caps on them. On the inside, you have a piece of metal rebar, maybe some sand or something like that.
right.
And on the outside, you have a pool noodle.
Okay.
Not all the way, just
Right. A chunk of
just
it.
a chunk of it on the top end, and that way you have a
Indicator. kinda.
indicator. So as the fish pulls on it, the weight shifts,
Right.
goes to the bottom, it stands up, you can see it. Now the other thing that I like, and have had a former fisheries supervisor turn me onto these, is I like to use paracord as your main dropper.
Okay.
Doesn't have memory,
Right.
so fish can twist it up,
Yeah.
and it'll come out fairly easily.
Right.
So
I've never tried that.
yeah, it's I like the paracord. It's nice. Now for weights, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen people use anything and everything.
I've pulled up one that you're talking about, like you just saw it in the lake and it had been sitting there for years, and you're like, wow, this just needs to get pulled out, you know? And it was just like somebody went into the junkyard and just pulled
yeah.
scrap metal. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, you got to do what you got to do to put food on the table, you know?
I mean,
Mine, I think right now mine have like metal stakes on the bottom that
Yeah.
are real heavy.
I mean, whatever works.
It works good.
okay.
Whatever works.
You know,
Just
I-
make sure you retrieve them.
I see the people with the solo cups that they filled with concrete and put
Oh,
like
yeah.
little wire
Oh, I've
hooks.
seen that.
Those I think are probably some of the best. You know,
Yeah.
it's easy, it's fairly cheap to make.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
if you lose them, you're not heartbroken over it.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Right.
like, oh, I'll just go get another one. Because that's the other thing with
Does
jug
that create
lining.
just a tiny bit of fish habitat? I mean,
I
for the
suppose-
little
I
fish.
suppose so. Until it gets silted in the next flood. But
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
yeah, it's. I think those are kind of the best. You don't really get upset about losing them so much, and
Right.
yeah.
Compared to real expensive egg sinkers.
I
from
mean, if
Walmart.
you're using egg sinkers or anything, yeah, you can buy those
right.
egg sinkers, 8 ounce or whatever, and you lose one of those, you're like, well, there goes $5.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Where if you're making mass anchors with concrete,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, for sure. All about saving that money.
I'm about that.
Me too.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those, they last. And
Yeah.
you save some money doing it.
true.
So the other thing on Juglines, this is what I was going to say. You can go as expensive as you want, if you will,
Yeah.
to make like a fancy one.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen all sorts of things,
Right.
but you're going to lose jugs, and that's the problem. Like, no matter where you're at, you're going to end up losing a jug at some point. And we talked about,
Right.
there's the jug that somebody's lost and everybody knows about.
Right.
You know, I if I ever lose one, it drives me nuts. It
Oh,
drives me
I will
nuts.
Forever
drive around
search,
Yeah, it's
looking
like you're-
for it before you give
and,
up.
and then you,
hours.
you get into that point of you're sitting there and you're like, okay, was it a big fish that got it underwater and tied it up on riprap, and
Right.
that's why I can't see it, because I'll never find it. Did somebody pull this jug and just took
Right.
it? Like,
yeah.
was there something on it? Like,
Don't be that person. I last summer went out to call and I ran one line of 12 jugs. Somebody stole all 12 of my jugs with my name and license number on them.
really?
Yeah. And I was like, why would you do that?
It was me.
Yeah, better not have been. But like, come on, don't be that person.
Yeah, no.
Like,
No.
it just kind of ruins it.
Yeah,
you know?
it definitely hurts your heart.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when I'm going out hoping for some good fish, and then I go out and all my jug lines that I spent hours putting together are just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Like, you miss one or two, it's like, okay, maybe a fish got them. But
and
like,
that's,
all
that
12
happens.
of them,
Like,
come on, bro.
yeah, like I said, the paddlefish, that thing could have gone anywhere on
Right.
Caw. And Caw's a big lake.
Yeah.
You could be searching forever to try to find it, but
Don't just give up right off the bat.
No.
I
No.
will say that. Like if
Give it a little
you're
search.
running your line and you're missing one or two, like drive around for them. Don't just be the guy that's like, oh well.
this is why you
Yeah.
also want to use high vis colors.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I've also seen people do this where they'll have their jug, PVC foam noodle on it, but then they'll have like a flag on the top of it.
Yeah.
And they'll even have that flag, so it's metal flag on it. It comes up, you can see it
As
even
they're in.
more, and they'll have it numbered,
Yeah.
so you can
Oh.
see that number.
That is so fancy.
And so you're like, oh, I'm missing number 7. Yeah, so
Better.
you can really
That
go
is super
fancy. Yeah, it's
fancy.
like
Even reflective tape. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people like to
Yeah.
jug at night.
Yes.
Catfish are more active.
Yep.
Dawn and dusk. Like reflective tape. You take your flashlight out and you just shine and you'll just catch that like right off the bat.
it also helps if you're not trying to jug in high wind.
Yeah,
That's true.
for
and
sure.
I can't see anything.
I mean, you
There's-
want a little bit of wind.
yeah, it
The
definitely
catfish
helps.
don't love it, like
Yeah,
just
no.
super
Yeah.
calm water, but
Yeah.
a little bit of wind. But as you mentioned,
But
like,
if you're like in 3-foot swells, you're
Yeah,
like, man, this
no.
is going to be a good day.
right,
Can you go into more about like how you set up your line with your hooks and stuff?
All right, so okay. So universally, I don't like to change up stuff throughout the year. And when I have a jug line, I'm like, okay, this is my jug line. I'm going to use it winter, summer, whenever.
Yeah.
right,
So I'll have jug lines that are different depths. So I have like 10s and 20s.
okay,
So 10 foot, 20 foot. Now
sure.
I'm not precisely looking for like, oh, it has to be 20 foot. If
Right.
it's like 18, okay. it's
yeah, a rough
It's close.
guesstimate,
But
yeah.
like 10, 20. You could, if you wanted to, you could go a little bit shallower in some circumstances when it's like, man, this is really like in the
high
north.
water,
Depends, but like on the north end of Caw where
Okay.
it's silted in,
right,
you know, it used to be that was like great 10-foot jug area, and I still use 10-footers there, but it's only like you'll be in like 5 foot, and all of a sudden it's like 2 foot, and your jug's not up and down; it's laying out.
right,
Yeah.
And it still works, but sometimes those when it's laid out like that, a lot of times those fish can tangle it up more, and
For
you have
sure.
more of a mass. And that's another time when you can really lose a jug is if you've got 2 or 3 fish on it. That's a lot more power to be able to
for sure.
get it away.
Yeah.
I've had a jug disappear that way before. I'm like, where is this jug? I mean, it must be a big fish. That's no, it's 2 smaller fish. They just wrapped it up enough to be able to
Drag it off.
get that weight up
Yeah.
off the bottom, and then they could go wherever they wanted to go. And luckily, I found the jug. I found the fish. I was like, hey, 2.
Right.
But now you can have 5 hooks per your jug. Some people like that. I don't necessarily think you have to go that many. A lot of times, if I have a jug that has 5 hooks on it, I'll only bait 3.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily doing that. But along the main stem of the paracord, I'll have a swivel attached to those, and then kind of a couple of beads.
Right.
So an overhand knot in the paracord, a bead, swivel, bead, overhand knot to keep it all
Right.
so it doesn't move up and down.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have them spaced out reasonable amount. Now my hooks that come off of that are not that long. You know, maybe a leader of a foot or 2.
Right.
You know, I don't need 3 foot where they can go all over the place.
Right. You don't
You
want
know,
them getting
I
all tangled up.
Yeah, and that way also, if you create like a snelled hook and have a little leader on it, you can just if you end up losing one or having one break off, all you have to do is just overhand it into that
easy
swivel,
repair.
Right.
and you
Tie on a new one.
and then you just have like a whole bank of other hooks
Yeah.
that are pre-made. And if one's just like, okay, this one's bad, now that I would use monofilament on heavy duty
sure.
monofilament
Yeah.
because they will twist that up. You'll get some memory in those hooks at times.
Well, that's the good thing about the swivels too, is that they allow that line to kind of rotate.
yes,
Do what they need to.
create as little resistance from
Right.
them trying to bind it up as
Put less
possible.
tension on
Yeah.
your line,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So-
Swivels are good. I think people overlook them a lot in jugs,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're like so critical in a jug line.
yeah.
And
You know, another thing, swivel on the bottom
mm-hmm.
where your anchor's attached.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because those fish are spinning.
right,
Oh, I haven't thought of that.
So
tie up your anchor
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dude, smart.
Have you noticed that whenever you're using the paracord, do you have less tangle with the fish or than when like monofilament or anything?
I do.
Yeah.
I would say so. But it also is just kind of how positioning and stuff
Okay.
like that. You know, if you end up having two jugs that are too close together and they get close enough, you know, they're going to tangle
Yeah.
up. If you end up having a strong fish and a big fish and a smaller fish and they meet up and they can tangle up. So it's jug lining. You're going to get tangles.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that paracord works a whole lot better. And it not having memory makes
Yeah.
it getting that tangle out so much.
Making me
easier.
want to go redo
sure.
my jugs.
Oh my goodness.
I've recommended. So the other thing I've recommend here is I was talking about all seasons of jugging. Okay?
Yeah.
And one of the tips that I feel like a lot of people don't think about is you'll look at people's jugs and it'll be like, okay, this is a 20-foot jug. The first 15 foot or nothing. And then there's 5 hooks and you're fishing the bottom.
Right, you're losing out on so much.
Well, if you're fishing in the summertime, I get a lot of phone calls where people are like, I've got my jugs set and I've got them, 5 hooks on them, and always my bottom 2 fish are dead. And what happens is
Dead zone.
Toxic zone.
they're below the thermocline. There's no
Right.
oxygen in the summertime. Those fish will go down there and feed, but if they can't get back up,
They're in trouble.
they're in trouble
Right.
and they just suffocate, they die, and it's hot water, it's stew water, they just cook.
Yeah.
And as a fisheries biologist, I've seen a lot of gross fish before.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it, but
Right.
people often get like, something's going on, and I'm like, well, your hooks are too low.
Right.
I rather fish off the surface. If I'm fishing in a 20-foot zone,
Yeah.
my hooks are probably within the first 10 feet.
Yeah.
And letting that rest of it. Now, in the wintertime, those fish can be anywhere throughout the water
Right.
column. And if you want to be so specific and your lake and you're like, well, in the wintertime, they'd like to sit on the bottom. Here they are at the bottom. This is where I want to be. Okay. Change it up.
Yeah.
Right.
It don't
But-
take much.
But for me, I'm just kind of like leave it as it is and we'll go from there.
Well, another
So-
thing though too, like even if you want to fish that lower layer, like check them every 2 hours. Check them every hour.
That's
like,
true.
Keep a good.
You could, but you also don't have as many fish that are diving down in there.
Right.
I think you're wasting your effort having that in there because
Okay.
they naturally don't. I said they'll go down there and feed. They'll go down there
Right.
and feed,
But they're coming up pretty
but they're
quick.
coming up pretty quick.
Yeah.
You might as well just be where they are in the water column,
Okay.
And again, this is all different lakes have different
Right.
systems. Some lakes are never develop a thermocline and you can just fish.
They will mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
true.
it's knowing your body of water you're fishing helps out an awful lot. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So can you kind of talk about your go-to baits for different situations? I know this is gonna like range so much, or it might not. You might just I say that, but you might
He's
just be
already
like
laughing.
a one.
it's funny because it's I feel like, and you can ask my buddies, they'll be like, what's the hardest thing about juglining? It's getting the bait.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like half the time we spend more time getting the bait than
Right.
anything
Casting
else.
it off the front of the boat.
If you can,
Yeah.
if you've got a good boat to do that and go and
Yeah.
know where the shad are and all that stuff. If you're good at it, then that's fantastic. There's always a lot of there's a lot of problems with collecting bait because if you're on a lake that is bait limited,
Yeah.
you're like, what am I going to do?
true.
You really don't want to. You can bring outside bait. That's legal. Should you do it? Not necessarily. We've had invasive species introduced from that.
Yeah.
People
Right.
using.
So you're talking live bait right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm talking live
So-
bait, but just limiting those opportunities.
Right.
You know, yeah. If I'm using dead bait, okay, it's dead. We should be fine, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Don't transfer bait from one lake to another,
Yeah,
please.
never.
Please. We
Never.
beg you. And it's illegal. So
Please don't. So, I will. Shad. I mean, shad
Yeah.
is just the best. I fresh shad. I personally love blue cats. Okay, you know, people will rank out their catfish,
Right.
and you know, flatheads are people love flatheads. Oh, that's the best fish.
Flathead.
Our the technician in the North Central region, he's a flathead dude, and everything to him is bait.
right.
You know, we're pulling up anything. He's like, let's put a hook on that. I'm like, we're working here. Come on. But he's always thinking about flatheads.
Right.
Me, I just like the blues.
Right.
I think the blues they're they get bigger.
Yeah.
They're
You
pretty.
know, they're pretty. Flatheads in clear water are very pretty, and I think they're great fish. Now, and then there's people that I go and catch channels, and I love channels, and that's
Right.
all well and good. It's I release channels because I'm just a snob in that sense.
Wow.
I'm like, no,
Wow.
I don't
Turned
want
his
those-
nose
Yeah,
up.
no, thank you. Release that channel. Let somebody else have that one.
Oh my
I just want
gosh.
those blues. But you're also sharing an aggregate limit.
Right.
You've got 15.
It's reducing your blues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the fishing that day? Is it
Dude, I was
we're
gonna
only
say,
catching
if you're releasing channel cats, dude, you're having a heck of a day.
right? You should be. No, so personally, I'm targeting the blues.
Right.
Um,
So you're gonna stick more to cut shad or
so fresh cut shad.
okay.
Now, the shad issue is really funny because people have all their superstitions. I'm not a tail dude. I'm like, pitch them tails. And
Really?
yeah, no, people are like, oh no, pitch the heads. The heads are the worst. I'm like, heads are the best. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So
Use it all.
It's
Yeah, use it all. Don't waste it.
well, how much bait do you have? Do you
Right.
have enough bait where you don't need the tails?
That's true.
just
That's
pitch,
true.
chum a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I don't have enough, I'm like, well, okay, let's keep everything. And if we have to use tails, we'll use
sure.
tails. Now, fresh bait is the best.
So let me ask you this: how do you go about catching shad?
Personally, with a cast net.
Well, right, but like, what are you looking for area wise? Like, are you
Areas, so
like I say I want to go catch shad, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
What where am I going? What am I looking for?
You're on a search.
Yeah,
I
you're
know,
on a
I
search.
know, I'm being difficult.
You want
but-
areas that would concentrate them. So a lot of times, depending upon season, in the wintertime, I'm looking for deeper areas off a bridge.
Okay.
They may be in the channel.
right.
In the summer, a lot of people go out in their boat right at sunrise. A lot of guides do this, and you can see those shad doing their spawning
okay.
activity,
Yeah.
and you'll see them flipping
Right.
on the at the shore
Yeah.
spawning, and you cast right there, get a bunch of shad. So there are good, easy ways to do that.
Right.
The hunt for bait can always be a problem,
For sure.
and so going from that, I prefer shad. I don't like the bag shad that you get. I don't,
Right.
frozen shad ends up breaking down. I really want that fresh shad. And if you catch it and you're like, I caught it today, but I need it tomorrow, put it in a bag and put it on ice, but have it like covered. So
Okay.
like ice, towel, bag,
towel,
towel,
ice.
maybe a little bit of ice, not
Okay.
much. You can also put a little salt on it. It'll keep it firm.
Oh.
But-
You really want to keep that the oils.
Yes,
The oils
exactly.
are what kind of spread through
Exactly.
the water and attract the catfish.
So the other things that work that I found worked really well, common carp.
Okay.
Common carp you could cut up and leave the skin on, and nothing can really pull that off. and
They
they're
are
very
tough.
oily.
Yeah.
And they're one of the few fish. I had a buddy back in college that swore by them.
Yeah.
He did well with them. He goes, they're the only fish that you can throw into the freezer and they'll retain their oils. I don't know how true this is. It's how it
Right.
felt.
Yeah.
But he would, if he ever got to the point, I can't even get shad, pull out one of these carp and cut it up and he'd do well on that.
Gotcha.
So he was doing stuff with his masters, looking at actually juglining for catfish.
Oh, that's cool,
And
Masters.
yeah. And
All right,
so
you're
he,
not allowed to talk, Miss Alligator Girl.
yeah,
I
right.
know. I'm going to.
So, but he would throw common carp on there to
Okay.
be able to catch it. Now, people, when we had the PRC, the Paddlefish Research Center, if nobody knows that, people would come up and get paddlefish liver from us and use that. And the catfishermen up there at Grand loved that.
So
That's pretty
we've
cool.
talked about the PRC back on episode 2, I think, with Nels Rodefeld, just in case you want more info on that. But continue.
I love this citation.
Yeah, we gotta get him in there.
Go back to this previous episode. Let's up them views.
Go ahead and like and subscribe while you're at it. We really. Anywho,
Now, then you can get into the more obscure things.
Right.
People are like, at least we have hot dogs.
yeah, you're
At
right.
least we have hot dogs. Now, I've also had an old, and I don't know, he may get mad at me saying this, but I don't. I'm
It's
sure he
fine.
wouldn't care.
Just go for it.
You start hearing about really crazy things.
I've got one.
I've
got one.
Okay, what's yours?
So I go to Walmart. Okay, you can buy chicken liver in a container
Okay.
at Walmart.
Yeah.
And I go and buy black cherry Kool-Aid.
I've heard of this.
And I dump like 2 or 3 packs
heard of this.
black cherry Kool-Aid in there.
Yeah.
And I let it sit for
Yeah.
about a night and
Yeah.
really soak up.
Yeah.
And that's what, and dude, I'll slam
It does
them.
work.
Okay, same thing,
It works.
Kool-Aid is
but you
like,
use chicken breasts.
okay.
Oh.
Okay. So use chicken breasts. Now you're getting expensive bait. here.
Right.
But Kool-Aid, strawberry, whatever,
Right.
right? And let it. I've heard Jello mix.
Oh, I've
Okay.
heard that one too.
Yeah.
and you let it
anything that
sit.
just like gets that smell,
Yeah,
like something
on it.
really
Yeah.
strong
That's
smelling.
why
So-
catfish are so fun.
Yeah.
And then I've heard people are like, "Oh yeah, if we have to." Now people also talk about using the belly meat. Now this is another hot topic because there are people that are like pro belly meat. That's the best meat on the fish,
Right.
And people that are anti belly meat.
Okay.
I personally don't like belly meat. I
Right.
recognize that people like it, and that's all well and good. But on those smaller fish that there's not enough belly meat to keep. I've seen people keep that belly meat and use that as bait if they can't get bait, because that'll freeze well, and it has that silver skin on the inside, the
Right.
normal
Yeah.
skin on the outside, so it stays
Uphold.
on the hook.
Yeah.
And that's really the
Nice.
main thing. If you're wanting bait that'll last, because if you can't get a hold of it, you need it in the freezer so you have
Right.
extra. That stuff will hold and you can use it.
And it
That's
stays
the
on hook
one
well.
negative of chicken liver is that
Oh, yeah,
it's kind of
The
soft.
shad's the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, all of this talk right here has been basically looking at your channels and blues, right?
Right.
So if you're jugging for flatheads, you need to have live bait.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're looking at
Tend to
green
need
sunfish.
be fishing deeper, right? You want to be fishing like kind of off the bottom.
I mean, yes, but not necessarily.
Okay.
We'll find flatheads in open water when we're sampling them. And it's
Okay.
40 foot deep, and there's no oxygen down there, and you're like,
Really?
you're just swimming around in the water column.
tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're tough.
That's funny.
World record breath holders.
Right.
No, they. But typically you're looking for live bait on this. People
Right.
talk about goldfish. People talk about if you have live shad, that would be insane. But
I will
One
say
of my dad's
personally,
favorite-
I'm against the goldfish. I don't like putting them in
I-
case they get off
Yeah.
the hook.
yeah, it's one of those deals. I think that's probably not the best route. I
Yeah.
understand it.
And they're
It's
not
high
natural,
visibility.
but they're not natural. Like to me, those fish want something that is regularly in their diet. That's personal opinion, but
I mean,
They like to eat them.
they
I
eat them,
know, I
so
know, but-
I don't.
I don't want to.
They
I don't want
just
to
like food.
encourage
Yeah,
the
like-
use of
But-
goldfish.
Well, it's and it's one of those deals. People use it. People swear by it.
don't tell
Yeah.
PetSmart you're using them for bait, though. They won't sell them to you.
Oh, I bet not. why do you need this 24 goldfish?
Right.
Tell me about your tank.
Right.
Oh, my tank's real good.
It's real big.
It's real good. I've had it
Huge.
set up for a
Millions
while.
of gallons.
Yep. Don't worry about them. Weren't you in here last week? No.
I built another pond. It's okay.
Yeah.
Another pond? Oh, man. You really love them. You know what you should use? This is a joke. Those really expensive koi.
Don't. Okay. Don't. I might have to edit that out now.
He said this
Come on,
is a
dude.
joke. There was a disclaimer.
Right. Don't do that. No. Okay.
Don't spread fish that are non-native.
Thank you.
Please
Yeah.
Don't.
It's
Just
simple.
go catch some shad.
Don't spread fish. I shouldn't say non-native. Don't spread fish. Like, don't. Okay? It's
You know,
not.
if you go to our
it's-
TikTok, we have a lot of videos of Assistant Chief Wade Farrar telling people don't pet the wild animals. We're now going to make a TikTok of you saying don't spread fish.
Don't spread fish.
So
Please.
be on the lookout for a TikTok with Duck telling you not to spread fish.
Where were we? We're bait and flatheads. Man,
Right.
my ADD, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to remember everything. Bait and flatheads. So the other thing with that is, Jesse, the tech up there that works with me, he
Shout out Jesse.
shout out Jesse, age them otoliths. He's working today hard. I know he is. You want anything can be bait for flatheads as long as it's alive.
Right.
He's this first year. Now this may upset some people. You may have to edit this out. There is
Don't tell
I'm
me
already
that.
excited to hear this.
Don't tell me
we were
that.
sitting there it's doing our bass samples, and every time we pulled up, one of those 1-2 pound bass, he's like, man, I'd love to be able to catch some of these and put a hook on them and go catch a big 45-pound flathead.
Don't use game fish as bait.
Can't.
You can use game fish as long as they're whole.
Right.
You can't cut them.
Just come on now.
so true.
Go catch some shad.
So that's because that used to be the
Cartwork.
other thing. Back in the wintertime, I used to use crappie,
Right.
and crappie make excellent blue bait, blue cat bait. But you can't cut them up anymore
Right.
because you can't tell how many
Your limit.
your
Yes.
limit.
It's a limit
Yeah.
issue.
So it's which
just follow the rules, please.
Yeah.
they're not hard to follow. You may not agree with them,
Right.
But they're there for
Just-
a reason.
Yeah.
Just please follow them.
Um,
Shout out to all our game wardens. We love you. Okay. Back on to juglining.
Okay.
Let's focus.
Oh, but let me finish
Okay,
this up real
okay.
quick. I will say this. After the spawning season, typically in about August, I find that the flatheads coming off the beds are so hungry, they'll start eating cut bait.
Okay.
So actually,
That's a
my
good
biggest
tip.
flathead I've ever caught, now this was rod and reel, was on cut shad. It was fresh cut shad. But, the doctrine is that if you're catching flatheads, you have to have live bait.
Right.
Yeah.
There's that special window that I feel like you can really target some flatheads August.
Right. They're just hungry.
They're just hungry. They're
Yeah.
trying to gain weight,
Yeah.
get resources, and they're a lot less picky then. So I just wanted to put that out.
Would you say that
good tip.
so for flatheads, we're going live bait, channel cats, or not channel cats, blue cats, cut bait, channel cats,
Fresh cut bait.
pretty much everything. Stink bait,
Oh yeah,
literally pretty much anything.
pretty much anything.
So
I mean, they're more omnivorous than
right.
the other things.
If you're on like a multi-day trip, like I'm gonna try multiple baits to see what's working the best.
yeah, it's always good to see.
depending on what I'm fishing for.
You can keep a data sheet.
It's nice.
Right. You love your data.
Yeah, right?
do.
Right.
Data. Woo!
Nerds.
Yeah, we're fish nerds.
okay.
If you have multiple hooks, just have it where it's like
Yeah.
shad's top.
Yeah.
Oh, you could really make this. We could make this real fishy.
Oh gosh.
There you go. So you make it random, right?
Leave it to fishers. Leave it to
You make
this-
it random.
We make it all fun.
Yeah. But you have to just document this back to your data. Okay.
Right,
You
right.
randomly assign different baits to different hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You should have random sites, but let's just omit that. Okay. So we're setting spots that we know
We're
there's
losing
fish.
views.
I know.
on-
No,
That's
no,
right.
no. This is
But we're
good stuff.
gaining fish views. The fish scientists are like,
Exactly.
I'm all in on this
Yes.
one.
Right,
Let's
right.
write this project up.
Oh, that's funny.
And you just note this down and then set out your jugs and determine what bait was the best, or did it matter? You could run a p-value and run the stats, figure out what the statistical.
It would improve your fishing.
It would improve your fishing.
I mean, over time, yes. But if you're
Just a few
if you're like,
samples.
Just a few,
if you're
yeah.
like,
You already said that you like doing it, so
Yeah,
just do
yeah.
it.
All you gotta do is
You're
write
right,
it down.
you're right.
It's
That's
exactly
That's all you
what
have
you
to
were
do.
saying.
Right? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You're right.
Right?
I feel like
Get
I'm
some
just
right in
getting
the rain.
bombarded by fisheries people right now. Like, what do I
Get
do?
some right in the rain paper. Keep your data,
Yeah.
and then
Catch more fish.
Exactly.
more fish.
That's the goal.
if you want to know what you're catching, because look,
If you really want to
If
get
you're
into
putting
it, you
it-
do multi-year studies different times a year.
yes,
year-to-year basis.
yes, but don't exceed what you're.
I'm going to go talk to Richard. Richard, Assistant Chief Fisheries. Be like, hey, can we get somebody on this?
This seems the more like home science.
He'd be like, yeah, not a chance. No.
But yeah, if as long as you're not, I was gonna say put them on specific hooks so you would know easy,
Right.
but then you don't know if they're preferring a certain hook. So if you do the different
Yeah.
baits, different hooks randomly throughout your jug
Right.
set, then you'd be a
You could add the hooks in a later.
Yeah,
sample.
yeah, so
Later
yeah.
set.
But yeah, if you're ever trying to do any at-home science, you want to create as few obstacles that may mislead your data.
I love the direction this went.
I'm happy to help.
I've done enough
His
school.
face.
I'm done.
Oh, come
I
on.
guarantee you.
No,
I
no, no, no,
guarantee
no,
you.
no, no,
There's
no.
people that will watch this and be like, I have to know.
Hey,
So,
if you're one of those people and you go out and do this study, we would love the data. Go ahead and send it in. Yeah, we want it. We want it.
It'll be good.
okay. We'll go to our next. He's not loving this.
We've beat this dead horse a while.
Yeah.
Beat this
So-
dead shad.
When you're setting
Live
jug
chat.
lines,
Live chat.
Live chat.
Got to use live chat.
We looked at them. They're dead.
Sorry.
Cut them up.
Fresh. But when you're looking for a place to set your jug lines, is there any areas that you're looking for or weather conditions?
Give it. Come on now.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
So part of it is anymore. I like fishing call.
Yeah.
If people that are looking at this, watching this, they're jug line enthusiasts, they probably are like, oh yeah, call.
Right.
Call's a great place.
Okay, but look at
Texoma.
other lakes.
But like
Kerr,
if you're looking at
Eufaula,
no, there's good lakes. There's good
Grand.
lakes. But I'm just saying, probably the top 3 blue cat lakes in the state are like Texoma, Caw.
Mhm.
I say Eufaula because I know a lot of people say Eufaula, but personally,
You just threw it in for a mention.
I should have said top 2. Eufaula is a good
Hey,
lake.
eastern part of the state, flatheads.
Oh yeah, flatheads for sure.
Dude, you want to catch
sure.
some huge
Now-
flatheads?
And I often will tell people, cause a meat factory.
Yeah.
It's that lake has so much pressure.
I need you to stop giving away my.
No,
My
because
whole-
this is our job. This is
You're
our
right,
job.
you're right.
We're here to help people.
You're right.
So
Help them to an extent to where I get to keep my honey hole.
this
saying no secrets, no
Here's the
holdbacks.
problem. Here's the
Right.
problem. I need people to harvest fish
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
because,
important.
because catfish are one of the weird species that they're longer lived,
Right.
but they need high harvest. A lot of long-lived fish, if you have high harvest, you end up collapsing the population.
And
think
that's
of-
why you can catch 15 of them a day.
yeah.
I mean,
And in some states you can catch more.
yeah.
So it's one of those as high of harvest as you possibly can have on them
Right.
helps out. It helps out with growth, helps out with everything. And caw is great because there's not another impoundment on the Arkansas River until Colorado. The Arkansas actually goes dry underground in the western part of Kansas, then it comes back up. So
Okay.
all of those nutrients get dumped into caw.
Dude, we're getting all kinds of science
Super
lessons from
productive.
Jeremy.
Yeah, so it's very productive. Has abundant shad. I just heard that. I was like,
I
what
know.
is it?
I don't know. It sounded like a tornado siren for a second.
It's a vacuum.
I think
I'm
it's a
pretty sure it's a vacuum.
It's cool. Keep
No,
rolling.
that's the hesitation. I wanted to let everybody know what's
okay.
going
That's
on.
what it was.
Yeah. So you have all these nutrients. So you've got great production. Your shad produce well. Your blues have high reproductivity. Excuse me. Blah. And there's a lot of jug anglers out there.
Yeah,
catching.
for sure.
Now, I typically will tell anglers, like, if you want to catch Texoma, you'll probably find bigger blues more often.
Right.
There've been some big blues caught off of caw, but if you want like consistent 5 to 10 pound blues, I mean, you're going to catch some bigger ones too. But
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw up a picture. Where did you pull this fish out of? Do you remember?
that was during my master's program. I was evaluating our 1/30" regulation,
Okay.
and that was on Ellsworth.
Well, there you go.
Nope.
Underrated lake, big fish.
Ellsworth, or is Ellsworth or Waurika? One of
Okay.
the two. I think it was Ellsworth because that one was of note because Ellsworth has a highly stunted blue cat population.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's bad. It's real
Really?
bad. Yeah. But in any stunted population, you're going to have a breakthrough.
The outliers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Right.
outliers, and the outliers get real big. And you look at our state record black and white crappie; those were in stunted crappie populations.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
They're just out competing.
yeah,
See, this is the science I like. Unlike all the data. You tell me, like, hey, let's look at the.
The data just tells you why.
it's the
Right.
story.
Yeah.
No, I'm seeing.
It's the fun part.
Dude, too much school.
Not enough
No.
school.
No.
Oh, y'all are crazy.
Life learner.
All
Like
right.
it.
Always be learning. Oh,
Biggest-
that's what people are here for. They're learning.
Yeah.
Biggest catfish you've caught. Any interesting catfish
changing
stories?
Yeah. I've got some. I thought.
All right, we give them.
So my biggest catfish, I'll say this: they've been on rod and reel. I don't really necessarily think about it with juglining, just because my mindset isn't as trophy fishing as it is
Right.
with like rod and reel fishing. I'm looking for trophies.
Yeah.
I caught a 45-pound flathead off of a cut shad head.
Dang.
And that was a fun night. It was I was in my in college, been out all day working, and was like, I'm gonna go fishing. So I went and caught some shad, got a really large shad, and went to one of the lakes, and I'll even say it because people get mad.
Give us your honey hole.
Lone Chimney. Went to Lone Chimney and was fishing and sitting there not very long, and my rod just went nuts. And I was like, "Oh goodness!" And
Dude, that's so
tried to
exciting.
set. Now Lone Chimney's a lot of flooded timber, and so I was like, "Oh goodness, I got to keep this fish out of there," and I
Yeah.
lost it, and I was so mad.
Oh, no.
I was so mad. Broke the line. Had 2 rods. I hadn't even set up the second one yet before that first bite. So I'm
Dang.
setting it up. The second fish, I'm mad. I toss it out there again, shad, and cut shad, and start going back to the first rod. And I got hit again. And I just played him well, and I brought in this 45-pound flathead.
Nice.
He actually had a gash on his tail from where he had been trying to get to some structure to wrap up in.
Oh yeah.
But I got him out before it. But yeah, that was
So it was a fun fight.
yeah, it was a fun fight. And then
Awesome.
I was so excited by catching that fish, I just like went home. It was like,
Well, it'd be hard to beat.
yeah. So
Right,
I mean-
I
right.
wanted
You
to
can't
show
beat
my
it.
buddies and everything.
For sure.
And so I'm driving home and I'm going way too fast. Don't speed. And I get pulled over.
No.
Yeah, I get pulled
Did you
over.
show the cop your fish?
No, not intentionally. It's in a bucket. I have this 45-pound in like I think it was a 5-gallon bucket. It's stupid. Like I just throw the head in there. Like the tail is like, it was dumb. It was like I'm pretty sure it was a 45-gallon bucket, or not 45. It was a 5-gallon bucket. It was stupid. Anyway, I'm speeding. It's dark. I don't expect anybody. It's a 2-lane road.
Right.
Oh, here's a okay.
Flashing lights.
Flashing lights, pull over. Cop comes up behind me, puts the light on that fish for a second. Comes up, license registration. Yes, sir. Here you go. Walks back. Comes back a little later. You know you're going too fast. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Got to
you
own up to it.
You know you need to slow down. Yes, sir. By the way, that's a really nice fish.
Did he give you a ticket?
No, I got.
Let's go.
I still have not had a
What
speeding.
happens
That's
when
a
you catch
win.
nice fish?
Yeah.
Yep. So that was fun. The other, my biggest blue has been a 36 pounder. I haven't actually beat my flathead record yet.
That's a good blue.
It's a good
It is
blue.
good
There's
blue.
people catch a lot bigger blues. And
Yeah,
I
but
haven't.
You can't.
That's why he threw in the yet. It's
Yeah.
happening.
I one day I love it. I just last few years I haven't been able to. I have a kid, so I haven't been able to go
Yeah.
sit out and
Dude,
really target.
catching big fish on juglines, so freaking
It's
fun.
so fun.
It is so
It is
fun.
a lot of fun. It's also just fun run reel.
It'll change your life.
But yeah, my other fun story that I was going to say is right after catching this big flathead, all of my buddies were like, "Oh my goodness, we need to go.
We got to go. We got to
So-
go. Yeah.
My brother and a couple of college friends were out fishing Lone Chimney and set up and just having a good night hanging out. And my brother went a little feral that night. He was just a little crazy.
Happens to the best of us.
And he gets paranoid about his rod. He's just sitting there. It's dark, and he's looking at his tip. He's like, I think something's on this. I'm like, dude, if there was a fish on it, you would know.
Yeah.
Right.
I've fallen into that trap before. You're watching your rod, and you're like,
The wind blows a little
Yeah,
bit.
what's
You're
going
was
on?
that a- was
Like
that a
if you
bite?
look really hard, maybe you can
maybe.
see something.
And then when you
Right.
actually have one, you're like, oh, that's what a bite looks like. Remember? Like, okay.
That happens to me
Don't-
trolling. I'll like hit the bottom or something, trying to fish close,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, fish. And then I'm like, dude, you're an idiot.
Yeah, no. So he's like, swears this. I'm like, dude, if you're worried about it, just reel it in. No. You know what you're talking about. I'm like, sure.
Sure.
And he's sitting there. And I think he sat and watched this paranoid for 45 minutes and finally reels it in. And he has this little blue. And this little blue is like less than a pound. You know, we're using a larger.
You just happen to be using the blue cat post catch. Not intentionally. That was a joke. That was a joke. Don't do that.
Okay, no, we were using a larger hook. It's one of those fish, you know, everybody has
Oh,
a story
yeah.
like, how did this fish even get on this hook?
Right.
Yeah.
Like he had to have missed the bait to get on the hook.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess this fish was on there just barely hitting his rod, and he was just like, I think there's something. I'm just dismissing him.
Oh
He
my
did.
God.
How was the I told you so? I mean,
Well, he was feral that night, so
was it pretty good?
it was pretty good.
Nice.
he was very happy about it.
We
Now,
love being right.
he was also like, I thought you said there were big fish in this.
Were they all expecting a 45-pound flathead?
That's the problem.
That's
though.
what
You
everybody
pull one
expects.
big fish out, and it's like, oh, we're gonna go catch 10 more big fish.
Well, that's the other
But
thing.
that's
Flatheads,
half the hope. That's like half the fun.
Right.
it is, but flatheads they're not a schooling fish. They
No.
don't have the population
Right.
size that like blues and channels do. And they're semi-territorial.
for sure.
So you kind of like, you have to understand there's not as many.
Yeah,
If
you
you catch
probably
one,
pulled out that big fish that was
well, in that area.
right,
Yeah.
right, in that like their home range or whatever.
Yeah. So,
That's cool.
but you know, fish move a lot, so it's
Right,
not too long. But
for sure.
In that moment.
What is like? Do you know? Do catfish have like a home range? Is that a dumb question?
I'd have to look.
I know.
I'd have to look. I
made
know
me
that.
think.
I know that flatheads will be territorial,
Right.
And so you would assume that they'd have a home range, but I can't say that
Interesting.
scientifically.
If anyone does a study on that, let us know.
I'm sure I'll
We're
just need to get
interested.
into
Get into the weeds.
I
research.
feel like they would change through the seasons too. If they
Yeah,
did.
well, that's the other
Probably,
thing it
yeah.
does. You know,
Yeah.
they're
And all we
obviously
gotta do
a
is,
lot
like,
more
Put a
territorial than
tracker
they.
on them, right?
You know how hard some of that is? It's costly.
It is
Like
costly.
tracking
So
studies are so
expensive.
expensive.
They are fun though to do if you've ever been.
I've never got. I've got to do like test ones,
I
but
got
I've
to
never.
help with the alligator one. And
Oh
it was
yeah,
pretty fun.
I bet that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's cool. So do you have any tips, like as we wrap up, for maybe someone who's either, let's go two. So someone who's just starting out, wanting to jug line, and then somebody who's been doing it for a long time, but just kind of wants that like pro tip in a sense.
I've given a lot of my tips throughout this.
Yeah.
I was going to save some.
You've got all the pro tips.
Yeah. Noel. I want to. Yeah. I've got some tips, but starting out, one of the things that always gets me is like, okay, we've got a 5-10 mile an hour wind today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's fish where it's not windy. Well, that wind is blowing the bait up on the shore.
Right.
So a lot of times it's better to fish
A windblown bank.
the wind-blown bank. The shad are all piled up there.
Mhm.
You can throw out jugs and you'll do a lot better.
Right.
You know, people think that you have to be in the absolute deepest water
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of these fish. You know, you can catch fish and catch large blues and channels in 2 foot of water.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if there's, you know, a lot of times just trial and error. The other thing
For sure, trial and error with
Yeah.
juggling. Baits,
Yeah.
hooks, depth.
yeah. And the other thing I would suggest is, you know, talk to people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fishermen are fishermen, and some people don't like giving up their spots and stuff like that
Some.
because, you know, that's their spot, and
Right.
I don't want to have to compete. But in this field, I feel like, you know, we're all trying to catch a fish. It's all
Right.
Yeah.
Especially I feel like jug anglers are, you know,
We just want to have a good time.
we're wanting to have
Oh,
a good
yeah.
time.
It's just
We're-
relaxing. It's
a lot of times
fun.
you're pulling jugs and you'll see somebody, hey,
Right.
what'd you guys do? They, you know, they don't care. It's
No.
like,
Right.
yeah, I'm not going to be out here. Go ahead and have good luck.
When there's
Or
so
they'll
much
be
lake,
like, we didn't catch it. Yeah,
Like-
that's
Yeah.
the other thing.
and there's so much fish. Like those fish are not going to be in just one spot in the
no,
lake.
I
not
feel like when it comes to juglining, people are pretty willing to like help
Right.
show you how to do it.
yeah,
Or
sure.
set up your jugs at least, you know.
Yeah.
Like
stuff like that. But I would say talk to people, especially if you're going to a new body of water that you don't know necessarily. You can also call your fisheries biologist in the area and ask them.
Yeah.
You know,
Call your ducks of the
your
world.
your phone's about to be blowing up.
Yeah,
my
probably.
phone blows up.
Face blown up.
Well, yeah.
That's funny.
I had a call earlier just before I walked in, just like, hey, is Sooner Lake open? I'm like, yep.
Get out
good to
there.
go. Go out.
Get out there.
So, you know, there's a lot of water that's blown out right now with the
Due to the-
floods.
yeah.
But Sooner's a pump in lake. So I'm like, yeah, it's open. Good. Go.
Get out there.
A lot of phone calls.
Go fish. Be licensed.
I-
Follow the rules.
You know,
Go
honestly,
fish.
you asked about seasoned. Any tips for seasoned? For as long as I've been doing this, I still don't feel like a seasoned person. I
Right.
feel
Yeah.
like I can learn something from anybody, and
For sure.
I may not have the best ideas. I think my ideas are effective,
Right.
but I would say the best way to jug is with 3 people.
Okay.
With all their jobs.
You got the driver.
Okay.
Driver just
Right.
drives.
Got to drive.
You get marking jugs on your
Yeah.
graph, making sure you're not running into jugs, running
Mm-hmm.
into people, things like that. And then I like having 2 people, one on either side. And that way, because kind of setting jugs can be
Right.
a little bit tedious at times. So you can kind of space them out a little bit closer, if you will.
Right.
You don't want them too close, but you also don't want that like 100-yard gap between jugs where you
Right.
end up losing them. You want them more in that straight line. So I like having 2 people.
For sure.
You can have more for sure, but
Yeah.
you know, a person that has the bait all cut up, and then you're hooking. And then when I'm setting my jugs, I will have the hooks baited and laid over the edge of the boat
Okay.
where they won't catch on anything.
Right.
And then that way I can just toss the anchor and it'll feed itself out,
That's a good tip.
Okay.
and then you can throw it.
Yeah.
I like that.
For sure.
So that may be
sure.
a pro tip. And then that way, if you're worried about how your boat looks,
Yeah.
the outside of it's a little bit
Easier to
gooey for-
wash.
yeah, then it's all inside. Yeah.
Got to care about how the boat looks.
Yeah.
No, not actually. Go fish. You got a dirty boat, means you catch a lot of fish.
You can power wash it.
Yeah.
You can always power wash it. And it's the boat. If you're not dirtying up your boat, then what are you doing?
You're not having fun.
Right.
You're not having fun. You're probably mad.
Yeah.
That's funny. Probably not catching any fish. You need to watch this episode, catch more fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of today's episode on Real Talk, Real Tips, talking juglining with Jeremy Duck and Taylor Tucker. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for having us.